Have you ever stopped to think about how a person, a living, breathing person, can disappear completely as if they never existed? It happens more often than you'd think. Every year, thousands of people go missing. Some are found, some are explained, but others, they leave behind nothing but questions. No notes, no footprints, no signs of life or death. Some disappear in broad daylight, others walk into forests and never return. A few send chilling last messages, and then silence. In today's video, we explore 10 of the most bizarre, unexplained disappearances from around the world. Real stories, real people, real fear. So grab a drink, turn off the lights, or leave them on if you spook easily, and let's uncover mysteries that have baffled investigators for decades. It was a quiet spring night in May 2008 when 19-year-old Brandon Swanson was driving home from a party in rural Minnesota. Just past midnight, he accidentally drove his car into a ditch on a gravel road. Frustrated but unhurt, Brandon did what many of us would do. He called his parents. He told them where he thought he was and asked them to pick him up. For over 47 minutes, he stayed on the phone with his father, calmly chatting, giving updates as he walked along the road, trying to meet them at a better location. But then, suddenly, mid-conversation, Brandon cried out, "Oh shit!" and the line went silent. That was the last time anyone heard from him. Police found his abandoned car, but no footprints. No phone, no clothes, no body. They searched rivers, fields, and woods. Nothing. Was it an animal, a fall, or did someone find him before his parents did? His disappearance still haunts the small town of Marshall, Minnesota, and remains one of the most chilling modern mysteries. It was Christmas Eve, 1945, in Fayetteville, West Virginia. The Sauter family, George, Jenny, and their 10 children, were celebrating the holiday together. Late that night, a fire broke out in their home. George and Jenny escaped with 4 of their children, but 5 others, aged 5 to 14, were trapped inside. Or were they? Despite the house burning to the ground, no remains were ever found. Not bones, not ash, nothing. Even stranger, the telephone line had been cut. A ladder that was always by the house was missing. A passing driver said they saw balls of fire being thrown onto the roof. Over the years, Jenny received mysterious letters, including a photo in the mail of a boy she believed was her missing son, Louis. The back was inscribed with a strange message. Some believe the children were kidnapped by the mafia, possibly in retaliation for George's anti-Mussolini views. Despite a lifetime of searching, the Sauter family never found closure. A billboard with the children's photos stood on Route 16 for over 40 years, a haunting reminder of a mystery that refuses to die. In March 2014, 2 young Dutch women, Chris Kremers, 21, and Lisanne Froon, 22, arrived in Panama for a dream volunteer trip. Both were intelligent, adventurous, and full of life. On April 1st, they set off for a hike near the Baru volcano in the lush Panamanian jungle. It was a clear day. They wore light clothes, had a backpack with a camera and 2 phones, and told others they'd return by evening. But they never came back. When they failed to show up for scheduled activities, panic set in. A massive search effort was launched: helicopters, dogs, police, volunteers, nothing. 10 days later, strange things began to surface. The girl's backpack was discovered on a riverbank, oddly clean, almost placed, with Lisanne's camera, 2 phones, cash, and sunglasses still inside. The phones showed dozens of desperate attempts to call emergency services, but none connected. Then, the photos. Over 90 images were found, including normal tourist shots early in the hike, and then several taken in complete darkness, odd angles, jungle trees, rocks, a possible reflection of blood. More disturbing, a piece of Lizanne's pelvis and Chris's boot with her foot still inside were discovered miles apart. Was it an accident, or were they being followed? And who took the night photos? To this day, investigators can't agree on what happened. Wild animal? Fall? Foul play? The jungle keeps its secrets well. October 1955, the V. Joyita, a sturdy 70-foot fishing and charter boat, left Samoa bound for the Tokelau Islands with 25 people aboard, including crew and passengers. The weather was fine, the voyage was short, but the ship never arrived. 5 weeks later, Joyita was found adrift over 600 miles from its intended path. It was partially submerged, tilted on its side, but still floating. The engine was silent. The radio was tuned to the emergency frequency, but there was no one on board, not a soul. The lifeboats were missing. Blood-stained bandages were found. A doctor's bag was on deck. Half-eaten food sat abandoned in the galley, and the ship was still seaworthy. It hadn't sunk. So why abandon it? Some say the crew panicked after a mechanical failure. Others believe there was a mutiny, piracy, or even a military cover-up. But no bodies were ever found, no wreckage, no confessions, just a silent ship and a lot of fear. It remains one of the Pacific Ocean's most disturbing maritime mysteries. In 1912, 4-year-old Bobby Dunbar disappeared while on a family trip in Louisiana. He had been playing near a lake and was suddenly gone. For months, searchers combed the area, draining swamps, questioning strangers, even offering rewards. Then, a breakthrough. A drifter named William Walters was found traveling with a boy who looked exactly like Bobby. Walters claimed the child was not Bobby, he was Bruce Anderson, the son of a woman he knew. But the Dunbar family insisted it was their child. The boy was taken from Walters and returned to the Dunbars, who raised him as their son. Walters was arrested and tried for kidnapping, despite weak evidence. Years later, Bruce's supposed mother, Julia Anderson, came forward, pleading that the boy was hers. But she was poor, uneducated, and unmarried. While the Dunbars were wealthy and respected, she lost. For decades, that boy lived as Bobby Dunbar. He grew up, had children, and passed away with the world believing he had been found. But in the year 2004, Bobby Dunbar's granddaughter took a DNA test. The result? The boy raised as Bobby Dunbar was not a Dunbar at all. Julia Anderson had been telling the truth. The real Bobby Dunbar was never found. This wasn't just a disappearance, it was a case of identity theft, false justice, and generational lies, all hidden behind the smiling face of a little boy. She was the most famous woman pilot in the world, a legend, a record breaker, a symbol of courage. In 1937, Amelia Earhart set out to become the first woman to fly around the world. With her navigator Fred Noonan, she began the journey in a twin-Jenny Lockheed Electra, flying thousands of miles over oceans and remote lands. The final leg would take them from Papua New Guinea to a small island called Howland Island in the Pacific. They never arrived. The U.S. Navy launched the largest air and sea search in history at the time, but there was no sign of her plane, no wreckage, no radio distress, just silence. Over the years, dozens of theories emerged. Crashed and sank in the ocean, captured by the Japanese and died in custody, or, as some believe, she survived and assumed a new identity. In 2018, a photograph emerged allegedly showing Amelia alive on a dock after her disappearance. But it was never confirmed. Her story is more than a mystery. It's a myth, a legend woven into the sky itself. Amelia didn't just vanish. She became eternal. Everett Ruiz was a 20-year-old artist, writer, and adventurer in the 1930s who wandered the American Southwest with only a burro and his notebooks. He wrote passionate letters about the beauty of nature and his desire to live outside society. In 1934, he entered the remote deserts of Utah and never came back. Searchers found his burros and some of his supplies in a canyon. A message carved in stone nearby simply read, Nemo, 1934, Latin for no one. For decades, his story haunted poets and wanderers alike. Who was Everett? Did he fall? Was he killed by cattle rustlers? Did he fake his death to disappear forever? In 2009, a skeleton was found believed to be his, but DNA proved otherwise. It wasn't him. To this day, Everett Roos is a ghost of the wilderness, a young soul lost to the silence of the desert. June 7th, 1992, in Springfield, Missouri, best friends Susie Streeter and Stacy McCall had just graduated high school. That night, they partied with friends, then went to Susie's house to sleep. Inside was Susie's mother, Cheryl Levitt, a 47-year-old hairdresser. The next morning, all three were gone. The house was undisturbed, their purses, keys, cars, all untouched. The dog was still there, the front porch light had been shattered, and a strange message was left on the answering machine, later deleted. Theories flew. Was it someone they knew? A stalker? A serial killer? The police believed the women were abducted, possibly together, but there were no witnesses. Over the years, suspects came and went. A concrete parking garage was even searched based on a tip, but found nothing. To this day, their families keep hope alive, but not a single trace of the Springfield Three has ever been recovered. Lars Mittank was a 28-year-old German man vacationing in Bulgaria in 2014 with friends. After a minor fight at a bar, he injured his ear and was told by a doctor not to fly. His friends left while he stayed alone to recover. That's when things got weird. Lars called his mother, whispering that people were following him. He left his hotel and began wandering the city. He texted his mom things like, "What should I do?" and "I'm scared." Finally, at Varna Airport, security cameras captured Lars standing outside the terminal, calm at first. But suddenly, without warning, he panicked. He ran full speed out of the airport, over fences and into the forest. He was never seen again. There were no signs of a chase, no clear threat. Some believe it was a mental breakdown. Others think he was drugged or being hunted. The CCTV footage went viral. Millions watched the moment a man vanished into thin air and were still asking, what was Lars running from? In February 2004, 21-year-old Maura Murray, a nursing student at the University of Massachusetts, emailed her professors to say she was taking time off due to a family emergency. But there was no emergency. She packed up her car, withdrew money from her bank account, bought alcohol, and drove north into New Hampshire. Around 7:30 p.m., she crashed her car into a snowbank in a rural area. A bus driver stopped to help. She declined, saying she'd already called for assistance. But when police arrived minutes later, Maura was gone. The car was locked, her belongings were still inside, but she had vanished into the night. Footprints in the snow? None. No phone activity? No credit card use? No security footage. Just a mysterious trip in a car abandoned on a cold winter road. Some say she ran away. Others say she was abducted. Some even believe she was picked up by someone she knew. 20 years later, the case remains one of the most famous, unsolved disappearances in America. People don't just vanish, do they? These 10 cases defy logic. They frustrate families, they baffle police, and they haunt the internet. Some may be accidents, others something darker. But all of them leave us with one terrifying question. If it happened to them, could it happen to us? Thanks for watching. If this video gave you chills, leave a comment with which case disturbed you the most. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more mysterious true stories from around the world. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, And remember, the unknown